Ethan sat alone in his small quarters aboard the Xylaris research station, the soft hum of the life support systems and computers filling the otherwise silent room. The walls, smooth and metallic, reflected the dim light of the console screens, giving the room a cold but calm feeling. Outside, the dark expanse of Xylaris stretched endlessly, dotted with faint glimmers of distant stars. Ethan often marveled at the beauty of space, but tonight he had little time to think about the stars. He was busy with his work, repairing a malfunction in the station's atmospheric monitoring system. His hands moved quickly, adjusting circuits and checking readings, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He had grown accustomed to the quiet nights, the solitude, and the endless routine of maintenance and research. But tonight a faint, almost imperceptible sound made him pause. It was a soft shift, like a movement against the air pressure in the room. Ethan stopped, listening carefully. He thought it might just be his imagination, or perhaps a small leak in the ventilation system. He returned to his work, but the sense of being watched lingered. Suddenly, without warning, the door to his quarters slid open with a whisper of air. Ethan jumped back from his console, his heart pounding. He was not expecting anyone. Security protocols on the station made uninvited entries nearly impossible. Standing in the doorway was a figure unlike anything he had ever seen. The being was a woman, but not like any human woman. Her skin shimmered with a faint blue luminescence, casting soft reflections on the metal floor. Her eyes were large, glowing with a pale silver light, and her hair floated around her shoulders like strands of liquid light. Ethan's mouth went dry, and for a moment he could not speak. The alien woman's presence was mesmerizing, almost unreal. She looked frightened, vulnerable even, and her voice trembled as she spoke. "Can you please clean me, human?" she asked, her words soft but urgent. The tone of her voice carried a sense of desperation, a silent plea that tugged at Ethan's instincts. Ethan blinked several times, trying to process what he had just heard. "Clean you?" he repeated cautiously, unsure if he had heard correctly. I don't understand. What happened to you?" The alien woman stepped forward, her movements graceful, almost floating. She held her hands close to her chest and looked at Ethan with an expression that was a mix of fear and hope. "I need cleansing. My body, the planet, it burns me, please. I cannot do it alone," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. This was not a time for panic. He had trained for emergencies, and though he had never dealt with a living alien visitor in his quarters, he knew he had to act carefully. "Okay," he said slowly. I will help you, but you have to tell me everything. Who are you? Why are you here?" The woman, introducing herself as Lyra, explained in a voice that trembled with exhaustion. She was an explorer from a distant planet called Alarian, sent to study life on other worlds. Her species had a special cleansing ritual that was necessary after long exposure to certain planetary atmospheres. The atmosphere on Xylaris was toxic to her biology. Without proper cleansing, her body could fail. Ethan listened intently, feeling a mix of awe and responsibility. He had heard of alien species and their unique physiologies, but nothing had prepared him for the reality of facing one so close, so vulnerable. He motioned for her to come closer, guiding her gently toward the small hygiene chamber in his quarters. The chamber was designed for human use, but he figured it could be adapted for her needs. "We'll figure this out together," he said, trying to sound confident even as his mind raced with questions. "Step inside. I'll help you." Lyra's expression softened slightly, the tension in her body easing as she stepped into the chamber. Ethan quickly prepared the cleansing equipment, adjusting water temperature, cleansing solutions, and protective gear to make sure he would not harm her delicate body. As he worked, Lyra stood still, allowing him to carefully tend to her. While Ethan cleaned her, Lyra began to tell him about her life on Ilarion. She described floating crystal cities, dense jungles that glowed with bioluminescent plants, and oceans filled with creatures that defied human imagination. She told him of her missions, studying life across the galaxy and the dangers she had faced. Ethan found himself fascinated by her words, imagining the strange and beautiful world she came from. As the process continued, Ethan noticed that Lyra's body bore subtle injuries, bruises and marks that spoke of recent struggles on Xylaris. She did not hide them but allowed him to see, trusting him. Ethan's heart tightened. The alien was not only beautiful and mysterious but also brave, Having faced dangers he could scarcely imagine, he realized that helping her was more than just a physical task. It was an act of trust, and he felt honored that she had come to him. Lyra, in turn, was fascinated by Ethan. She had encountered other humans in passing, during previous missions or trade negotiations, but she had never met one so patient, so empathetic. She observed how carefully he handled the equipment, how his eyes flicked between her and the instruments, ensuring nothing would harm her. In her culture, strength was often measured in combat or power, but she had learned that intelligence and care could be equally powerful. Ethan embodied that strength in a human form. The night stretched on as Ethan completed the cleansing process. He worked slowly, making sure Lyra was comfortable and that her injuries were attended to. She remained quiet for the most part, her large eyes watching him with a mix of curiosity and gratitude. There was a moment of silence when they both paused, the room filled with nothing but the quiet hum of the station. It was a strange but peaceful moment, two beings from entirely different worlds connected by a simple act of care. Finally, Ethan finished and stepped back. Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes reflecting a mixture of relief and something deeper that he could not immediately understand. "Thank you," she whispered. You have a strong heart, human. Few in my experiences have shown such care." Ethan felt a flush of pride, though he tried to hide it. "I'm glad I could help," he said softly. You must be exhausted. Rest now. I'll make sure you are safe." Lyra nodded, her form settling slightly as she allowed herself to relax. Ethan stayed by her side for a few more minutes, making sure that she was stable and comfortable. He realized that this night had changed something in him. Humanity often thought of itself as fragile or insignificant compared to the vastness of space. But in moments like this, the true value of human empathy, courage, and adaptability shone brightly. As the night wore on, Lyra finally drifted into a light, uneasy sleep, her glowing form dimming slightly as she rested. Ethan watched over her, thinking about the events of the night and what lay ahead. There were questions he had yet to ask, mysteries about her species and the planet she came from, and dangers he could not foresee. But for now, the immediate threat had passed. He returned to his console quietly, checking the station systems and ensuring that everything was functioning correctly. Even as he worked, he could not shake the sense that this encounter was just the beginning of something larger. Lyra's presence had opened a door, a connection between human and alien that carried the potential for trust, friendship, and perhaps even greater discoveries. The hours passed slowly. Outside, the stars continued to twinkle against the blackness of space. Ethan felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that the universe was vast and often dangerous, but he also knew that humanity had qualities that no alien could underestimate. Courage, intelligence, and compassion were not traits limited to legends, they were real, embodied in moments like tonight, when a human had extended his hand to a being from another world. When morning approached, the first hints of Xylaris' twin suns lit the edges of the horizon. Ethan finally allowed himself to rest for a few moments, keeping one eye on Lyra as she slept. He knew she would awaken soon, and when she did, the next chapter of their interaction would begin. For now, though, he allowed himself a small sense of satisfaction and wonder. The night had been unexpected, frightening, and extraordinary all at once. Ethan understood deep down that nothing about this encounter would ever be ordinary again. The galaxy was full of surprises, and he had just met one that would challenge him, teach him, and perhaps even change the course of human-alien relations forever. In that quiet room, on a distant world, the seeds of something remarkable had been planted. A connection born from care, trust, and the courage to reach across the boundaries of species and understanding. The next morning, Ethan awoke to the soft hum of the station and the faint glow of Xylaris' twin suns casting long shadows across his quarters. He rubbed his eyes and glanced toward the hygiene chamber where Lyra had spent the night. She was no longer there, and for a brief moment he wondered if he had imagined everything. Then from the corner of the room, he noticed a small device glowing softly. It was alien, unlike anything he had seen before, with smooth crystal surfaces and intricate patterns of light that shifted like flowing water. Ethan approached cautiously. As he touched the device, a holographic image flickered into existence. It was Lyra, sitting in a place that looked unlike any environment he had encountered. Floating structures of crystal rose from a landscape that glimmered in shades of violet and gold. She smiled faintly at him from the projection. I am sorry to leave so suddenly. Her voice echoed softly from the device. But I must ensure the others of my kind do not notice my absence. I will return soon. Meanwhile, you must understand that our connection tonight is more than mere accident. You have helped me in a way few humans have, and for that I am grateful. Ethan stared at the image, both awed and puzzled. The technology was incredible, far beyond the station's human engineering. He touched the hologram, watching as the light patterns danced across his fingers. His curiosity surged. Who was this Lyra really? And what was her world like? Later that day, Ethan continued his station duties but found his thoughts drifting constantly to the alien woman. Cleaning and attending to her injuries had been one thing, but learning about her species and culture intrigued him even more. He felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. Humans were explorers, yes, but they were small compared to the vastness of space and the intelligence of other species. Yet he also recognized that this encounter gave humanity a rare chance to understand, to connect, and perhaps to show the true worth of human character. That evening, as the station grew quiet once again, a faint shimmer appeared near the corner of his room. Ethan's heart leapt. Lyra had returned. She entered silently, her glowing skin softly illuminating the room. She moved with the same graceful caution as the night before, clearly still wary of being discovered by the station's crew. Hello again, Ethan said softly, careful not to startle her. I didn't expect to see you so soon. Lyra's eyes reflected a hint of relief. I could not wait, she said quietly. There is much to tell you, and I trust only you for now. I need to teach you about my world, about why I came here, and why humans may be more remarkable than I first imagined. She stepped closer, and Ethan gestured for her to sit near the hygiene chamber, while he prepared a small table to hold supplies. Lyra studied him with her large eyes, attentive and curious. Her skin shifted slightly in color, reflecting the station lights, giving her an almost fluid, living glow. Ethan marveled at her physiology, noting how different it was from any life form he had studied. She was strong yet delicate, alien yet somehow relatable in her movements and expressions. Lyra began to describe Ilarion. The planet was vast, with floating cities built on immense crystal pillars that rose above luminous forests. The forests themselves glowed with bioluminescent plants, some of which reacted to sound and touch. Rivers of light wound through the jungles, carrying nutrients and life energy to creatures that Ethan could barely imagine. She spoke of sky beasts that moved in perfect synchrony, of creatures capable of communication through patterns of light, and of cities that operated in harmony with the natural energy of the planet. Ethan listened in awe. He had studied alien ecosystems in theory, but hearing about them directly from someone who had lived there painted a picture far more vivid than any data he had ever seen. His mind raced with questions. And your people? You live among these forests and crystals? He asked. Do you fight for survival often? Lyra shook her head. Survival is not always about fighting, she explained. Our society values harmony and intelligence. Strength comes in many forms. Sometimes strength is in observation, sometimes in creation, and sometimes, as in this case, in trust. You have shown strength by helping me without hesitation, without fear of what might happen. That is rare, even among my kind. Ethan felt a flush of pride mixed with humility. He had acted instinctively, guided by empathy and curiosity, but to hear that his actions were considered a form of strength by an alien species left him both humbled and amazed. I just wanted to help, he admitted. I couldn't leave you like that. But I never expected it to mean so much. Lyra smiled faintly. That is exactly why humans are remarkable. You act not only out of duty, but because of what you call heart. That is something few of my people truly understand. Often we think only of logic and survival. Yet you have acted for compassion, and that carries power I have not seen before. As they spoke, Ethan found himself asking more practical questions. You mentioned cleansing is essential for your survival on Xylaris. Can you explain why? And how does your physiology work? Lyra nodded, her large eyes reflecting thought. Our bodies absorb energies from our environment, some beneficial, some harmful. Xylaris carries particles that are toxic to us, but we cannot sense them immediately. The cleansing ritual removes these toxins and restores balance. It is a delicate process, and one mistake can have serious consequences. That is why I came to you. Humans are meticulous, capable of precision and care. You are the only one I could trust. Ethan listened carefully, impressed by both the complexity of her biology and her confidence in him. "I will do everything I can," he said. "I don't fully understand your species, but I'll learn." "I want to help," Lyra's expression softened. "And that is why I returned to you. There is much more than cleansing at stake. I wish to share knowledge to teach you about Ilarion and my people, but I also wish to observe humans more closely. There is much to admire, and some things I wish to understand better." They continued their conversation late into the night, exchanging knowledge and observations. Lyra explained how her society maintained harmony with technology, using devices that adapted to the environment rather than altering it. She spoke of her explorations across distant systems, some planets dangerous, some abandoned, and some flourishing beyond imagination. Ethan shared his own knowledge of human science, engineering, and survival. He told her about Earth, its oceans, mountains, cities, and people's struggles and achievements. As they spoke, Ethan realized the depth of their connection. It was not merely a human helping an alien. It was an exchange of understanding, a bridge between worlds. He began to see patterns in her explanations, ways to apply human ingenuity to situations she described, and she, in turn, began to see the adaptability and courage in human responses to the unknown. Hours passed, yet neither noticed. For Ethan, it was like the universe had shifted its pace, slowing to allow this moment of shared discovery. He was no longer merely a station engineer. He was a human ambassador, representing the potential of his species in the eyes of someone far more advanced. Lyra, too, seemed to relax, showing glimpses of her true personality, curiosity, humor, and admiration that made her glow not just with bioluminescence but with something almost like warmth. Eventually, the conversation paused. Ethan could feel his energy waning, and he noticed Lyra's glowing form dim slightly, a sign of fatigue. He guided her gently to a resting area, making sure she was comfortable and secure. "You should rest," he said softly. "Tomorrow we can continue." Lyra nodded, her eyes reflecting trust. "Yes," she whispered. "Tomorrow we will continue. There is much for you to learn and much for me to see. Humans have potential I have underestimated. I am curious how far it can go." As she settled, Ethan watched her carefully. There was a new sense of purpose in his mind, a recognition that this encounter was just the beginning. The universe was vast and full of unknowns, yet in the quiet of this station room, a bond had formed, one that carried the weight of curiosity, trust, and the promise of understanding across species. He returned to his console, checking the station systems once more, but his thoughts kept returning to Lyra, to Ilarion, and to the possibilities of what lay ahead. This night, like the one before, had changed him. Humanity, he realized, was capable of more than survival or conquest. It was capable of connection, empathy, and courage, traits that even advanced alien civilizations could recognize and respect. The hours moved slowly as he prepared for the next day, thinking about the lessons he would learn from Lyra and the ways he might help her in return. This exchange of knowledge and trust, he understood, was the first step in a journey that could redefine humanity's role in the galaxy. As dawn approached, the room was quiet once again. Ethan allowed himself a brief moment of reflection. In meeting Lyra, he had seen a glimpse of something extraordinary: the power of compassion, intelligence, and bravery when they crossed the boundaries of species. And he knew deep in his heart that the universe had far more surprises in store, with challenges and wonders that would test not only his skills but the very essence of what it meant to be human. For now, though he rested, ready to continue the journey when the night returned, knowing that each encounter with Lyra was not just about cleaning or healing, it was about discovery, connection, and the days on the Xylaris research station passed quietly, almost monotonously. Yet for Ethan, the quiet had begun to carry a new energy. Every task he completed felt different, touched by the knowledge that someone extraordinary had entered his life. Lyra had returned that night just as she had the night before, and each visit brought with it new lessons and challenges. He had learned about her physiology, her species' culture, and their unique approach to survival and exploration, yet there was much more to uncover. Lyra moved carefully through the room, her glowing form casting shifting patterns across the walls. Ethan noticed how the ambient light seemed to play with her skin, enhancing the shimmering blues and silvers. She did not speak immediately, instead letting her gaze linger on him with quiet intensity. The small, almost imperceptible movements of her body reflected a creature both elegant and cautious, one accustomed to observing more than being observed. "Good evening," Ethan said softly, careful not to break the fragile atmosphere of trust. "I have prepared everything for you. Are you ready?" Lyra nodded slowly. "I am ready. Tonight I wish to learn more about humans," she said. "You have already shown me much, but I want to see your species not just through words but through actions, through thought and behavior." Ethan felt a rush of responsibility. He understood that this was more than a simple exchange of knowledge. It was a test of trust, of character. Humans had a reputation across the galaxy as curious and determined. But Lyra's presence made him realize that the subtleties of human behavior, the choices made in small, quiet moments, were perhaps even more important than the grand gestures. He guided her to the hygiene chamber as before, preparing the equipment with care. The ritual cleansing had become more than a simple task. It was now an intricate process that demanded his full attention and patience. As Ethan worked, Lyra spoke softly, sharing details of her latest mission on Xylaris. She had been exploring a newly discovered biome in the northern regions of the planet, one that was rich with flora and fauna, but also filled with dangers. "The northern forests are beautiful but unpredictable," she explained, her voice calm but tinged with caution. "There are creatures that hunt with incredible precision. Some are harmless, but others are not. I narrowly escaped an encounter yesterday. That is why I needed to return here quickly." Ethan listened closely, fascinated by her words. The thought of alien creatures moving with calculated efficiency across a foreign world both thrilled and alarmed him. He realized that Lyra's life was full of risks that he could not easily imagine, and yet she carried herself with confidence and grace, a testament to her training and resilience. As he completed the cleansing, Ethan noticed subtle signs of tension in her posture. She seemed unusually alert, as if expecting some danger to appear at any moment. "Are you afraid of something?" he asked gently, his voice carrying genuine concern. Lyra's large eyes met his. "Fear is natural," she admitted, "but it does not control me. I have learned to observe and anticipate, yet even the most careful planning cannot eliminate all threats. That is why I trust you. You provide a sense of safety I cannot find elsewhere on this station." Ethan's chest tightened. Her words were not just gratitude. They carried an acknowledgement of his courage, his reliability, and his humanity. He realized that this trust was a rare gift, and he vowed silently to honor it. "I will protect you as best I can," he said. "Even if I do not fully understand the dangers, I will do everything in my power to keep you safe." Lyra's form shifted slightly, a subtle gesture that Ethan interpreted as a nod of approval. "That is why I returned to you. I observe not only your actions, but your decisions, your thought processes. Humans are capable of remarkable ingenuity, and I wish to see it firsthand. You have already shown adaptability, quick thinking, and compassion, qualities few species possess simultaneously." They spoke for hours, the conversation flowing seamlessly between technical explanations and personal reflections. Ethan shared his understanding of human problem-solving, improvisation, and survival strategies. He described the challenges of maintaining life support on the station, the constant need for vigilance, and the unpredictable nature of space. Lyra absorbed every word, her silver eyes reflecting a mixture of fascination and admiration. As the night deepened, Ethan realized that he was learning as much from her as she was from him. Her insights into alien biology, survival strategies, and interstellar exploration were extraordinary. She had encountered countless species, many of which were far more technologically advanced than humans, yet she continued to return to him, seeking not just help but understanding. This recognition of humanity's potential left Ethan both humbled and inspired. Over the next few nights, Lyra's visits became routine, though still secretive. The station crew was unaware of her presence, and Ethan had to navigate the challenges of keeping her hidden. He devised clever ways to allow her to enter and leave without detection, using maintenance shafts and temporary energy cloaks from his engineering supplies. Each visit required precision, stealth, and ingenuity, qualities Ethan found himself honing with every passing day. During these clandestine encounters, Ethan and Lyra began to experiment with ways to expand their knowledge. They studied the station's environmental data together, comparing it to her home planet's conditions. Ethan learned how alien systems operated, how life on Alarian adapted to extreme environments, and how different survival strategies could be applied to Xylaris. Lyra, in turn, observed human problem-solving, noting how his species adapted to unexpected challenges with creativity and courage. One night, as Ethan adjusted the cleansing equipment, Lyra paused and looked at him intently. "You have a remarkable mind," she said. "Your species can take limited resources and create solutions I would not have expected. This is why I return. Humans are resilient, and their ingenuity is a force not easily measured by technology alone." Ethan felt a surge of pride mixed with humility. He had always thought of humans as resourceful, but hearing it acknowledged by someone as advanced as Lyra made him see his own species differently. It was not arrogance, but recognition of potential, a validation of the quiet, persistent courage that humans displayed daily in ways that often went unnoticed. As the days continued, Ethan noticed subtle changes in Lyra as well. Her initial wariness had lessened, replaced by a sense of calm when she was near him. She began to share more personal stories, memories of her training the first time she had left Alarian and the creatures she had encountered on distant planets. These stories were filled with both wonder and danger, and Ethan listened with rapt attention. Each tale revealed not only her experiences, but also the qualities her species valued: intelligence, adaptability, and courage. One night, a particularly tense moment occurred. While Ethan and Lyra were discussing her exploration of Xylaris' northern forests, the station's alarm system suddenly blared. A small containment breach had occurred in a nearby research module, releasing a cloud of toxic gas. The automated system struggled to contain it, and the ventilation shafts began to carry the gas toward their location. Ethan acted immediately. He grabbed protective gear and improvised a seal for the chamber, guiding Lyra behind him. She moved with surprising speed and precision, using her knowledge of alien biology to minimize exposure to the gas. Together they navigated the hallways, bypassing locked doors and malfunctioning systems, relying on both human ingenuity and alien instinct. When they reached a safe section of the station, Lyra looked at him with wide eyes. "You acted decisively," she said, her voice steady despite the tension. "Humans have a courage I have observed in few other species. You combine thought with action, intelligence with instinct. This is rare." Ethan nodded, catching his breath. "I did what I had to do," he replied. "But I couldn't have done it without you. Your knowledge of biology and environmental hazards saved us both." Lyra's expression softened, a subtle smile forming. "And that is why I return," she said quietly. "Not only for the cleansing ritual, but for the understanding you provide. You show humanity at its best, and I wish to see more." After the incident, Ethan spent hours repairing damaged systems and ensuring that the station's safety protocols were fully restored. Lyra assisted, offering guidance and insights that he could not have anticipated. The collaboration strengthened their bond, demonstrating how two beings from entirely different worlds could work together seamlessly when trust and respect were present. As the night ended, Ethan reflected on the events. He realized that these encounters with Lyra were shaping him in ways he had never expected. Humanity's true strength, he understood, was not just in technology or numbers, but in empathy, creativity, and the ability to rise to challenges that demanded both courage and intellect. Lyra's presence had illuminated these qualities, showing him that humans were capable of remarkable feats when guided by heart and mind alike. Lyra settled in a safe corner of the quarters, her form dimming slightly as she prepared to rest. Ethan watched her carefully, ensuring her comfort. The bond they shared had grown stronger, not just through the cleansing rituals, but through shared experience, trust, and mutual admiration. As dawn approached, Ethan allowed himself a brief rest, reflecting on the lessons he had learned. The station had been quiet for days, the routine hum of machinery providing a sense of normalcy. Ethan had grown accustomed to Lyra's nightly visits, and their conversations had become a mix of scientific inquiry, cultural exchange, and careful observation. Yet beneath the calm, Ethan sensed that Xylaris still held hidden dangers. The planet's strange atmosphere and unpredictable terrain had already caused problems for Lyra, and the research station, though advanced, could not guarantee complete safety. One evening, while Ethan was conducting routine maintenance on the environmental control systems, a sudden alert flashed on his console. A toxic gas leak had begun in one of the lower decks. The station's automated systems were attempting to contain it, but the readings indicated rapid spread, and the air circulation suggested it could soon reach multiple sectors, including the area where Lyra would likely enter. Ethan's heart raced. He immediately initiated the emergency lockdown protocols, sealing bulkheads and activating ventilation overrides to prevent the gas from spreading further. The alarms blared throughout the station, a harsh reminder of the danger that now threatened everyone aboard. Lyra appeared in his quarters moments later, her glowing form shimmering against the flashing red lights of the emergency alert. She had sensed the disturbance and had come to assist, her movements precise and fluid. "The gas is toxic to humans as well as my species," she said quickly. "We must act immediately," Ethan nodded. "We will. Follow my lead." He grabbed protective suits from the storage compartment and quickly helped Lyra into a specially adapted suit. The design accommodated her alien physiology, sealing her body while allowing full mobility. Ethan then secured his own suit and activated the portable air filtration system he had improvised for such emergencies. Together, they descended into the lower decks, moving cautiously through corridors partially filled with a faint yellow haze. Ethan relied on both his training and the lessons Lyra had taught him about alien environments. Lyra, in turn, guided him using her knowledge of Xylaris's unique atmospheric hazards. Their coordination was seamless, a combination of human ingenuity and alien instinct. As they navigated the station, Ethan noticed damage caused by the leak, loose panels, scorched surfaces, and minor fires ignited by electrical faults. He moved quickly to stabilize them, improvising temporary repairs with available materials. Lyra assisted, her hands capable of subtle adjustments that complemented his work. They reached the central environmental hub, the source of the leak. A large containment unit had ruptured, releasing the toxic gas into the ventilation system. Ethan analyzed the readings, calculating the necessary adjustments to reverse the flow and neutralize the concentration. The task required precision and quick thinking. Any miscalculation could allow the gas to reach populated areas, endangering both humans and Lyra. Lyra observed silently, then spoke in a calm, commanding tone. "Shut down the secondary vent. Divert all airflow to the neutralization filter. I will stabilize the containment unit manually. Follow my guidance." Ethan nodded, executing the instructions with steady hands. He was impressed by her confidence and composure under pressure. Humans often relied on instinct and improvisation, but Lyra combined observation with precise action, a skill honed over years of interstellar exploration. Lyra approached the containment unit, her glowing hands moving over the panels as she manipulated the alien interface. Sparks flew, and a faint hiss of escaping gas threatened to overwhelm them, but she worked with determination and control. Ethan adjusted valves and conduits, ensuring the neutralization process progressed smoothly. Minutes felt like hours, each second heavy with tension. The station's emergency lighting flickered as systems struggled to maintain stability. Ethan could feel his muscles straining from the exertion, his mind focused entirely on the task at hand. Beside him, Lyra remained composed, her presence a steadying influence. Finally, the readings began to stabilize. The gas concentration decreased and the automated filters regained control. Ethan allowed himself a brief exhale, checking Lyra's status. She was unharmed, though her glow had dimmed slightly from the exertion. He reached out, touching her shoulder gently through the protective suit. "You did it," he said, voice filled with relief. "We did it." Lyra turned her head, her eyes reflecting genuine admiration. "No, human," she said softly. "We worked together. Your actions, your quick thinking, and your courage allowed this success. Humans possess a resilience I had underestimated. You are extraordinary." Ethan felt a mix of pride and humility. He had faced dangerous situations before, but never had he worked so closely with someone from another world under such high stakes. Lyra's words resonated deeply, reinforcing the idea that humanity's strength was not only in technology or physical ability, but in courage, intelligence, and the capacity to act decisively in critical moments. As they made their way back to the upper decks, Ethan observed the aftermath of the crisis. Station personnel were beginning to emerge from their safe areas, checking systems and ensuring everyone was accounted for. Ethan realized that Lyra had not only saved herself, but had contributed to the safety of the entire station. His admiration for her grew, tempered by respect for the lessons she had shared. That night, after the emergency had passed and the station was once again calm, Ethan and Lyra sat together in his quarters. The cleansing ritual resumed, but it was no longer a simple act of care. It had become a moment of reflection. They discussed the events of the evening, analyzing what had happened and how they had worked together to overcome the danger. "You have a remarkable mind," Lyra said again, her voice calm but earnest. "Not only do you act with courage, but you think ahead, anticipate problems, and adapt quickly. That is the hallmark of true strength. Many species rely solely on instinct or power, but humans combine intelligence with heart." Ethan smiled faintly. "I just reacted the way I had to. But I've learned a lot from you too. Your guidance, your knowledge of this environment, and your precision, it's incredible. I've never met anyone like you before." Lyra's gaze softened, and for a moment the glow of her body seemed warmer, more vibrant. "And that is why I continue to return," she said. "To observe, to learn, and to teach, but also to understand. Humans have qualities that cannot be measured in technology or strength alone. You have shown me that even in the most dangerous situations, compassion and ingenuity can prevail." The conversation drifted to quieter topics as the night deepened. Ethan found himself asking about Lyra's childhood, her early training, and her first experiences exploring other worlds. She shared memories of floating crystal cities, oceans that shimmered with bioluminescent life, and creatures that communicated through light and energy. Ethan was captivated, imagining the beauty and complexity of her home planet, a world unlike any he had ever seen. Lyra, in turn, asked him about Earth, the human experience, and the challenges of life in space. Ethan described the oceans, the mountains, the cities, and the struggles of humans to adapt and survive. He spoke of human ingenuity, resilience, and the ability to rise above adversity. Lyra listened intently, her expression reflecting fascination and admiration. As the night wore on, Ethan realized that their bond had grown deeper than he could have imagined. It was built on trust, mutual respect, and shared experiences. The dangers of the station had forced them to rely on each other, and in doing so, they had discovered the true value of partnership across species. Eventually, Lyra prepared to rest, her body dimming slightly as she settled in a secure area of the quarters. Ethan watched over her, reflecting on the lessons of the night. He understood that humanity's true power lay not only in skill or technology, but in the ability to act with intelligence, empathy, and courage when faced with the unknown. As he prepared to sleep himself, Ethan felt a sense of purpose and anticipation. The universe was vast and full of challenges, yet he now knew that humans could rise to meet them in ways that even the most advanced alien species could recognize and respect. The bond he shared with Lyra was just beginning, and the nights ahead promised more discoveries, more lessons, and more moments that would test the limits of both human and alien potential. In the quiet of the research station, Ethan allowed himself to rest, confident that whatever dangers lay ahead, humanity had the strength, courage, and ingenuity to face them. And somewhere in the galaxy, a glowing alien woman had seen firsthand the extraordinary qualities of a single human, and perhaps, in turn, glimpsed the future potential of an entire species. The following days were quieter, but Ethan knew the calm was temporary. The station continued its routines, but he and Lyra had formed a new rhythm together. Their nightly visits had become a series of shared discoveries, explorations of alien technology, scientific discussion, and the ongoing cleansing rituals that maintained Lyra's health. Yet more than that, they had formed a bond of trust and mutual respect. Ethan noticed how Lyra's glow had become steadier, brighter, almost as if she were drawing energy from his presence. She had grown comfortable in the quarters, moving with confidence instead of the cautious wariness she had shown on her first night. At the same time, he felt more capable, more aware of the vast universe around him and the role humanity could play within it. One evening, the station's comm system activated with a signal from the planetary research team. A newly discovered anomaly in Xylaris's northern hemisphere required immediate attention. Ethan read the data and realized it was a phenomenon that could not be explained by current human science alone. Lyra approached, her glow intensifying as she examined the readings. "This is unusual," she said softly. "I have never seen this type of energy pattern. It could be dangerous, but it could also be a unique opportunity for study. We must act carefully. Ethan nodded. We'll need to combine human problem solving with your knowledge. Together, we have a better chance of understanding it and preventing harm. They prepared for the journey, gathering equipment and plotting a safe course to the anomaly. The station's automated systems provided guidance, but Ethan relied on both his experience and Lyra's insights to make adjustments for the unpredictable environment of Xylaris. As they traveled, Ethan marveled at her ability to navigate the alien terrain with grace and precision. She moved as if the landscape were an extension of her own body, understanding its dangers and opportunities instinctively. When they arrived at the anomaly, it was unlike anything Ethan had imagined. A swirling vortex of light and energy pulsed above a crystalline forest, radiating patterns that seemed to defy physics. Lyra's eyes widened with a mix of wonder and caution. "This is powerful energy," she said. "It is not naturally occurring. Someone has created this." Ethan studied the readings, analyzing the energy flux and the potential impact on the surrounding ecosystem. He realized that a wrong move could destabilize the vortex, causing a chain reaction that might threaten both the forest and the station. Lyra stood beside him, offering guidance and insight, explaining the subtle ways Xylaris' energy fields interacted with biological life. They worked together for hours, combining human logic and alien intuition. Ethan suggested adjustments to the containment devices, while Lyra applied her knowledge of energy flows to stabilize the anomaly. The work required patience, focus, and cooperation, and through it they strengthened their understanding of each other's capabilities. Finally, the readings stabilized. The vortex slowed, its energy patterns becoming predictable and safe. Ethan allowed himself a brief smile. "We did it," he said. Lyra turned to him, her eyes reflecting a mixture of relief and admiration. "Yes," she said softly. "Together, you have proven once again the strength of humanity, not just in intellect or skill, but in perseverance, creativity, and courage. You are remarkable." Ethan felt a warmth spread through him, not from pride alone, but from the realization that their partnership had accomplished something extraordinary. It was a reminder that humans, though still a young species in the galaxy, possessed qualities that could stand alongside the most advanced civilizations. As they returned to the station, Lyra remained close to Ethan, sharing more stories about her travels and discoveries. She spoke of planets where life thrived in extreme conditions, of civilizations that had long since vanished, and of lessons learned from countless encounters with alien species. Ethan listened attentively, adding his own knowledge of human innovation, perseverance, and adaptability. Back at the station, they reflected on the events of the past weeks. Lyra had come initially seeking help, but the experience had become a journey of mutual discovery. She had learned to trust a human completely, and Ethan had witnessed the potential of humanity through her eyes. Together, they had navigated danger, solved complex problems, and explored the mysteries of an alien world. "You have changed the way I see humans," Lyra admitted quietly one night, as they sat together in the soft glow of the quarters. "I once thought your species was limited, bound by instinct and emotion, but you have shown me a combination of intelligence, courage, and heart that is rare in the galaxy. You have surpassed my expectations." Ethan looked at her, moved by the sincerity in her voice. "And you've shown me that there is more to the universe than I could ever imagine," he replied. "Your knowledge, your perspective, your trust, it's opened doors I didn't even know existed. I've learned as much from you as you have from me." Lyra's glow seemed to brighten at his words. "Then our journey has been successful," she said. "Not just because we survived the dangers or solved the problems, but because we have learned from one another. That is the greatest achievement of all." In the following days, Ethan continued his station duties, but he no longer saw them as mundane tasks. Each repair, each observation, each calculation was infused with a new sense of purpose. Humanity's potential was not measured solely by technology, numbers, or power, but by the courage, ingenuity, and compassion of individuals willing to face the unknown and act with intelligence and heart. Lyra's presence remained a constant inspiration. She began to assist with other research projects, her knowledge transforming Ethan's approach to problem solving. Together, they conducted experiments, analyzed data, and explored new sectors of Xylaris, uncovering phenomena that had previously been overlooked. Each success reinforced the value of collaboration between human and alien, highlighting the strengths of both species. One evening, after a particularly productive day, Lyra turned to Ethan with a thoughtful expression. "You have proven that humans are capable of more than I ever expected," she said. "Your actions, your decisions, and your willingness to trust and adapt, these are qualities that can shape the future of your species. I am proud to have witnessed them firsthand." Ethan felt a surge of emotion. It was not just pride, but a deep sense of purpose and responsibility. Humanity had potential beyond what he had imagined, and his experiences with Lyra had shown him that even one individual could make a difference. "Thank you, Lyra," he said softly. "Your trust and guidance have meant more than I can express. I've learned so much from you, and I hope I can continue to live up to the potential you see in humans." Lyra's glow shifted to a soft, warm tone, almost like a smile. "You already have," she said. "And together, we will continue to explore, to learn, and to grow. Humanity has a place in the galaxy, and your actions have proven that your species is ready for the challenges ahead." The station was quiet once more, but the bond between Ethan and Lyra was stronger than ever. They had faced danger, solved complex problems, and shared knowledge across species barriers. More than that, they had discovered a connection built on trust, respect, and admiration. Ethan realized that this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, full of wonders and dangers, but humans were capable of rising to the occasion. Courage, intelligence, empathy, and ingenuity were traits that could shape not only their survival but their future in the galaxy. Lyra had seen it firsthand, and Ethan had come to understand it deeply. In the quiet hours of the night, as Lyra rested and the station hummed around him, Ethan reflected on the journey. He had met an extraordinary being, faced dangers unimaginable, and discovered the true potential of humanity. The lessons he had learned, the bond he had formed, and the experiences they had shared would guide him for the rest of his life. And somewhere in the galaxy, on a distant, glowing world, a remarkable alien woman had come to recognize the extraordinary qualities of one human, and in doing so, had glimpsed the promise of an entire species. Ethan felt a sense of fulfillment unlike anything he had known. Humanity was not perfect, nor was it the most technologically advanced species in the galaxy. But it possessed something equally powerful: courage, creativity, empathy, and the ability to rise to challenges with heart and mind united. That truth, he realized, was the essence of being human, and it had earned him a place alongside Lyra in a universe full of infinite possibilities. As dawn approached, casting soft light over the station, Ethan allowed himself to rest, knowing that the journey was far from over. But he also knew this: humans, when guided by courage, intellect, and compassion, could meet any challenge and thrive among the stars. And in that knowledge he found hope, purpose, and a sense of wonder that would carry him forward wherever the universe might lead.